hear from our alternate media guy that appears from nowhere. He appears from the shadows. He comes on the radio here on the night shift and then disappears again into the shadows. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Luke. How are you, buddy?
I thought you might ring me to talk about the protests in Melbourne over the last couple of days.
It's definitely been interesting.
Okay. The Victorian Premier and the union representing these people, plus unions representing Victoria's nurses, who also have to go through mandatory vaccinations, have labelled those violent protesters that took place across Melbourne. They've said that they're idiots, that they're troublemakers, and that the CFMEU boss has actually said he wonders exactly how many of those protesters were CFMEU members and how many of them were just there to cause a riot. What did you make of it, Bob?
So I actually have people on the ground filming the event. My guys are down there actually even as we speak. What happened was, look, first of all, to the protesters, I know why you're upset. I get it. I've been frustrated for the past 6 or 12 months too. But I just want to say to them, there's a right way to do this and a wrong way. Picking fights with police will just get you arrested, and then the police and the government will use you as an example to bring in more authoritarian rules. I know it's hard when the police are firing pepper spray and capsicum spray and they're pepper spraying 65-year-old grandmas, but don't go punching them or anything like that. They're just doing their job. I know it's frustrating, but be smart about it. And
when you say you have people on the ground, what, people that report back to you through your alternate media sources?
Yes.
So what, you had reporters there observing this from a journalistic point of view?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there was a guy from Channel 7, a reporter from Channel 7, who was hammered by one of these blokes. He was wearing did you see it? He was wearing a yellow jumper. Then this reporter allegedly had urine sprayed on him that someone had put into a bottle. He later had a can of drink thrown at him. I mean, these people are there protesting, making a lot of noise, creating a lot of fuss so that they'll be noticed, so that their message will get through. Can you explain to me why you would attack the media, that you would want the media there to be broadcasting your message, wouldn't you?
Well, okay, so this is where it gets into a mainstream media, alternative media. My guys literally get invited to bars to drink with the protesters afterwards. My guys can walk freely among the protesters, interview anybody they want. They'll ask them, can we do an interview? We're alternative media. The protesters are more than willing to chat with them. They'll take photos with them, all this sort of stuff. But it's the mainstream media who's literally been calling them, the bad World War II people. They've been calling them troublemakers. They've been calling them all sorts of names in the papers and on the news. They're not trusted because of the slander that these protesters get.
Well, the guy that was hammered by Channel 7 did none of that. And he actually said he's tried to talk to them. What's your message? You're upset about mandatory vaccination. That's a fair argument. And he said they just scream. And he said that a lot of them that he witnessed were intoxicated. Their union boss also said that a lot of these people were intoxicated. And he's not convinced that the majority of them were actually members of the CFMEU.
So even the Sunday Morning Herald came out this morning and said that 90% of the people at the protest were actually CMFU members.
Well, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Sunday Morning Herald literally has done that. 90% were there who were members. That's what the Sunday Morning Herald that looked into it, and even deaf. And this is a paper that's not generally against Andrews, right? This is normally his side of politics. And even they're saying that 90% are members and they're not these troublemakers that are turning up. There's about 10% that are.
Well, you would have thought that their union boss would also be sympathetic to the cause, and he's saying that most of them were not CFMEU members, that most of them were professional ring-ins and professional protesters.
No, what he said was, I would not be surprised if they were. He didn't say.
He said he didn't recognise many of the faces. Anyway, let's not quibble. I wasn't there. I'm not qualified. I just saw what was on the television, and of course, what you see on the television news is the highlights or the lowlights. Jumping on top of cars, assaulting people. That's not on. No. At the end of the day, and that's what I mean by there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. Attacking police officers, smashing police cars and stuff like that, it's not the right way to do it. And I get it, they're frustrated. I get it. But it's the wrong way to do it because all you're going to do is force the police to come in with SWAT or whatever it may be and break the protests up. As long as they're peaceful and, they're doing their march and stuff, 9 times out of 10, the cops will just stand back. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and that's where, like throwing bottles of, urine at the reporters. Look, I've seen the coverage from Channel 7. It's far from favourable, right? They're calling them all sorts of names under the sun, which is why this reporter is getting the stuff thrown in. It's wrong. He shouldn't have it. He's just trying to do his job. But the mainstream media has to learn that if you start slandering people in the news, these people don't want to talk to you because they're automatically going to assume from the previous indications they've had that you're not on their side.
Okay, so, Bob, you're saying here this morning on mainstream media, by the way, you're saying that it was the mainstream media that provoked all that?
No. It's the past history. You go through and you look at, like, the breaking news, right? Like, for example, I've got the news up in front of me right now, right? And you've got protest chaos. You've got ABC, Daniels Andrews, anti-lockdown protest condemned.
Okay, I know what the headlines are. Just stay there for a second, Bob, because I've got somebody who was there also. Joe is in Bendigo. Joe, are you there? Joe, talk. Wouldn't you know it, Joe wants to talk and then now Joe's disappeared. I'll try Joe one more time. Joe, are you there? Joe, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, thank Christ, we got you. Joe, you wanted to say something about the protests. You're in Victoria. What did you saw it? What did you want to say?
Well, I think the fellow that you're talking to...
He's on the other line now, Bob, yeah?
I'm here, by the way, Joe. Hi.
I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
Really and truly, if you're going to get out there and you're going to protest like they're protesting, of course the media are going to say, that you're acting like idiots, because they are acting like idiots. Really and truly, I don't understand why these people... First, they're conducting a super spreading event. They've got police out there for 3 days. Imagine the money that's cost to have the police there, doing what they've had to do for the last 3 days. When these people get COVID, who's going to look after them? They won't have the injection. They don't want to have the injection because they're so entitled that they don't feel that they can be told what to do, even if it's to protect everybody, to protect their mums, their dads, their wives, their children. They don't want to, because somebody says you need to do this. No, we're not going to do it. No one can tell us what to do. So to my mind, all these people who, apart from if you've got a health condition and you can't have the needle, all these adults that won't have the needle, if they get COVID, stay home and die. Don't go into the hospitals and put the nurses at risk and overload our hospitals, because it's your own fault. It's your own fault. If you don't have the needle, don't come sooking to the hospitals and saying, well, I need help now. I've got COVID. These nurses have to go home.
Are you a nurse, by the way?
Yeah, yes.
I thought I had a funny feeling you worked in the health system. So, Joe, you're a nurse.
Well, I was. I'm retired now, but I've got a daughter that's a nurse as well.
Okay, now I know where you're coming from. Keep going.
Well, you know, the nurses are going home. They're having showers before they go home from the hospital. They go home. They're getting undressed in their garages. They're going inside. They're having showers before they can talk to their families because they're scared that they're going to take it into their kids and their husbands. And you've got people out there dancing up and down saying, we're not going to have the needle. Let's do a super spreader event to put these girls and these doctors and the police and AMBOs, let's put them all under more pressure than they're already under. There won't be any of them left to look after these people if they're not careful.
Bob?
Okay.
Yeah. What do you say to Jo? Jo's on the other line. She's listening.
That's right. Hi, by the way, Jo. First of all, the CMFU, I might be mispronouncing
Look, I don't really care. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I don't care whether
Jo,
these people are CMFU or antagonists or what they are. It doesn't really matter. They're out there protesting all together. Who cares what they are? They're
Jo,
creating a super spreader event.
Okay.
Jo, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, go, Bob.
You're talking about people being entitled, and now you're not letting me finish. Now, at the end of the day, as for the CMFU, the head of the CFMU was on 3WA or whatever it is, the radio station. Yeah, he was on there while they were peaceful outside, waiting for an update, calling them all sorts of names under the sun. Now, you say that these guys, they act up and then the media reports on it. But that's not true because they were literally doing the radio report before the riot even started, saying what bunch of bad people they were. They're all a bunch of, World War II people. And, I don't think, literally slamming them on the radio before the riot even started.
I heard you're referring to John Setka. And you can take or leave John Setka either way. But I did hear him after the first riots, and he tried to address the crowd, and they chased him back inside the CFMEU building. To me, he's lost complete control of his union. If they are all CFMEU members, he's lost complete control. He said that he believed that there were neo-Nazis involved, and that he believed that most of the protesters were not CFMEU members, that they were ring-in protesters. That's all I think now beside the point. I think the point that Jo is making is that it doesn't matter whether it's CFMEU, it doesn't matter whether it's the Musicians Union, it doesn't matter who it was. It was 2,000 people performing in a super spreader event, and Jo, as a nurse and a healthcare worker, and whose daughter is a nurse, they're pissed off that these people are putting other people's lives at jeopardy. It doesn't matter who they're representing, it doesn't matter who's egging them on. That's the message I'm getting from Jo. Is that correct, Jo?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Bob?
Now, the problem with that theory is why is it that if there's up until that point, a peaceful protest is labelled as a super spreader event, but people in different parts, like the football player, they can go and play football. They can not have to worry about quarantine. They can go and tackle people in the field. They can have police officers less than 6 feet apart, literally standing shoulder to shoulder. Some of them who are not wearing masks, mind you. And why are they not labelled a super spreader event?
Because they're not out there in their mass when they don't need to be. We don't need to be doing these. We don't need to have protests at the moment, do we? Really, we're all adults. Do we actually need to go out there and act like children so that we can spread this disease even further before they get a chance to get hold of it?
But are we adults? Because at the moment we have a government...
No, we're not. All those protesters that were out there over the last 3 days, they're not adults. They're Neanderthal children.
You're calling people names, and at the end of the day, that doesn't help your point because...
Well, it doesn't. What were they doing? What were they doing? Were they not calling people's names? Were they not throwing bottles of pee on a reporter that asked them over and over and over again, I'm here to listen. Tell me what you want to say.
Yep.
I'm here to listen. rubbish. They're not here to listen. They were there to fight. That's
All right.
what they were there for.
I think you're going to agree to disagree. Bob, I'll give you I'll give you a last word.
And I've already condoned that sort of behaviour. I said that straight off the bat. As for the media, I can tell you now, the media is not there to listen. The media is there to push their narrative, and that's all they want. Now, at the end of the day,
that's a sweeping statement, Bob.
I've had so many...
I'm part of the media, and I listen.
Yeah, you do, and you're a rare exception. I've had friends literally slandered by mainstream media year after year after year. I've got a mate over in America right now who runs a YouTube channel who has hundreds of thousands of people tuning in every day, and the mainstream media over there is trying to call him an alt-right Nazi.
Okay, just to wrap this up, Bob, I always appreciate you ringing through, and we don't always agree. What's your final message? Are you saying that these protests were media-driven? That they've been so antagonised over the years through being given labels, particularly members of the CFMEU, by mainstream media, that yesterday was antagonised and brought on by media?
No, look, at the end of the day, as for the way they reacted, like I said, it's wrong. They shouldn't do that. But as for the reporter having the stuff thrown at him and stuff like that, if you're going to...
And he was bashed. He was bashed.
Yeah, and like I say, I condone that. But as I'm saying is that at the end of the day, if mainstream media is going to turn up to these events, and especially if you have...
Of course they are. It's their job. That 2,000 people protesting is a news story, Bob.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And they couldn't even do that today because they decided to ground all the news helicopters. But like I say, at the end of the day, I'm against them having the stuff thrown at them. I think it's bad. But considering everything that me and my associates have gone through in the past few years, it is a very different story when someone like me or my associates turn up and approach these protesters. We're welcomed. We're welcomed with open arms. They sit there. They give us all the information. You can check out Avi Yemeni. He's down on the ground there right now, literally talking to these guys. They're taking photos with him and everything like that. And we are approached completely different because we're not slandering them in the mail or on the news, calling them a bunch of alt-right protesters.
Okay, Bob.
They're frustrated people.
Okay, Bob, we'll leave it there. And I always appreciate you ringing through with your alternate ideas, and it's my job to be fair and balanced. And I'm glad to hear you say that I do listen because I try to. And you and I will talk again soon. Okay?
No problem. I do appreciate you, Luke, and you are one of the rare exceptions of mainstream media. So please don't think that I'm painting you with the same brush.
That's okay. That's okay. No, I've got a very thick skin. I don't take things personally. Go on, you, Bob. Bob, the alternate media guy. Joe, are you still with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
I think that Bob and his people that are out there, they're stroking their egos. That's what they're doing. That's why they get to talk to them. That's why they get to take pictures with them, because they're stroking their egos. You know, I mean, if you go in and you pretend you're I mean, the Channel 7 media guy, he was wanting to listen. He was being very, very reasonable, wanting to listen, but he wasn't stroking their egos.
All right. Joe, I'm really pleased you rang. And can you thank your daughter, who's a nurse going through all of this? Can you thank her for her hard work? We really will. We really appreciate it.
And I appreciate your thoughts too, Luke, because I think you've got common sense. And at least somebody's out there with common sense.
Okay, Joe. Chin up.
Yes, will do. Thank you.
Thanks for your call. Call back anytime.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. There you go, folks. Your thoughts. 133353. I've got to take a break. Oh, boy. This is the Night Shift around Australia on the Triple M network.